Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I've got another great commentary for you today. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a matchup between JulyZerg and MMA. This is going to be another game from MLG. I was told that this was a fantastic game. I'm just going to be casting this one. This was a recommended replay. I'm actually not commentating this entire series. I already did a series for today. I'm just going to be doing this extra game. Consider this like a bonus round. This is a bonus game for you. So yes, we do have here JulyZerg in the 6 o'clock position as the red Zerg, and here at the 12 o'clock position, we do have MMA as the blue Terran. Now, of course, if you had happened to watch the commentaries from me yesterday, you'll know that, well, MMA is a great player, so this should be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to it. I do not know the outcome. I don't know the winner of this particular game, but again, gonna be really interested to see how it plays out. So we can see right now SCV Scout, was queued up actually to check the corner, but instead gonna be grabbing this one, checking that corner for a possible Overlord Scout, and then heading back home. And why is MMA doing that? Well, of course, because if he saw that Overlord Scout at this point in the game at about 1:30, he would have known exactly where JulyZerg was. You can see JulyZerg moving in from this position. Let's just pretend he was over here and the Overlord was headed here instead. You could see he would have clearly been able to scout that out. So that's precisely why MMA did decide to do what he did. We can see Barracks coming on through right now. I used to call it, well, I guess maybe I still do, but I used to really enunciate Bear Axe. Like, that's what I said when I said Barracks. And, man, people rage so hard. I mean, just pronouncing words in general, it makes people really upset. You know, people have different pronunciation of different things, and it's okay. I don't think there's any reason to rage about it. I don't know why I'm going off a tangent. But anyways, I actually liked the fact that I called it a Bear Axe, because I thought, well, that sounds really cool. A bear with an axe? I mean, how badass is that? I can't think of anything much cooler than a bear with an axe, except probably myself. I think I'm a little bit cooler than a bear with an axe, but only marginally. Back over here inside of MMA's base, we can see MMA, and we can see that one Marine coming through right now. We do have the SCV Scout finally pulling across the map. Looks like he will first be checking cross-positional. Not really going to be going directly diagonal from him, probably because it's not a likely spawn position. No, never mind. He will be coming up here first, and then we'll be checking cross-positional. We do have one Marine, and a little surprised, actually, MMA not being aggressive with that first Marine. MMA certainly having very strong micro and can certainly manage pushing out with just one Marine, but he will be actually following this up with a Reaper harass, and that can of course be quite effective. Now it looks like JulyZerg will be getting metabolic boost sometime soon. You can see sitting at about 70 Vespene right now, and that spawning pool just about to pop. He does have that expansion up, so we'll be of course getting these 2 queens and those 4 early game Zerglings. Right now of course MMA fully aware of what's going on. He sees the fact, okay, guys just pulled off that extractor, so here comes that metabolic boost. MMA is aware of all of that. Now where is that first Reaper? There we go, just about finished, and look at that. Such a fast expansion right now. Did he pull off the gas as well? No, he didn't. Staying on the gas right now because he's coming out with a second Reaper, so we will be seeing some very strong Reaper harassment here early on in the game from MMA. And again, this expansion, a little interested to see that he's coming down with it right here. He's going to have to rely on these Reapers for map control against these unupgraded Speedlings. The reason many Terran players will not be additionally building this expansion out here at the actual expansion spot and instead build it inside of their main is because drones and Zerglings can quickly harass his SCV, and by the time you actually respond, you may end up losing it, or you have to pull the guy off to stop building, and all that sorts of stuff can be very frustrating. But again, with these Reapers on the board, looks like MMA will just be deciding, hey, I'll rely on these to get the map control I need to go ahead and build this down here on the low ground. Now we can see right now this one Reaper already sitting with 2 kills, didn't manage to get that last Zergling over there, but again, we do have that second Reaper moving across the map, and actually, no, is that headed back home? Yes, it is. So with enough queens in play, and with the fact that the metabolic boost is just about to finish right now, I'm sure MMA knows that timing mentally. The fact that that's happening, I'm sure at that point he's realized, hey, let me just pull back with these Reapers. Really no reason to risk it. I would not risk it for a biscuit, is what they say. We can see right now, it looks like JulyZerg is in fact coming up with his third, and that's before even scouting MMA's expansion. You see, he has not even seen MMA's base at all, but he is just expecting that fast expansion, given that Reaper opening, and now he will be confirming it right now with those Zerglings, pushing on in, checking that bunker. That's pretty much a surefire guarantee that that expansion is there. So good guess by JulyZerg, in all honesty. That's what it was, because again, he had not scouted at all. All he's seen thus far is the bunker. But again, as I mentioned, that's pretty much tells you that, hey, there's an expansion there. Why else would he be coming out with a bunker? But again, JulyZerg definitely lucked out on that. He really hasn't taken a lot of losses, and he will have a strong economic advantage. Now, he has taken more losses than MMA has, but still nothing too drastic this early in the game. You can see resource-wise, only 75 behind where MMA is in terms of losses, so really not that concerning right now. Still dancing around with these Zerglings. Wants to check out. Looks like we will be seeing a Marine push. Went for Combat Shield first, and this can actually be a very strong push. Given the fact that Stimpak does take so long to research now, you will see a lot of Terran players just go Combat Shield first for some early game time push. But here we go. Zerglings trying to get up in the main. Nice response there by MMA, though. He was going to have to pull some guys off the line to the safety of this bunker, and he does not have enough Marines back at home yet to properly deal with that. But at the same time, here does come that push from MMA, and how much damage is he going to do? Going to start whittling away at this hatchery initially with these two Reapers. Again, these Reapers have been in play this entire game, and in fact haven't even taken any damage so far. 2 and 3 kills respectively. And here we go. Zerglings unfortunately running into the Marines. And it looks like MMA will be forced to engage right now because the Speedlings getting us around. Reapers try to get up on the high ground there, and the Marines, even with that surround, you can see how durable they are with that combat shield doing so much damage. And it looks like the Terran army has prevailed in that small engagement. Quick look again at the units lost tab. It has been requested of me to take a look at this after any big or kind of important engagements, and you can see right now JulyZerg is at the tail end of that joke right there. Losing more units. Unfortunately, though, these Marines will get mopped up. They didn't end up making it all the way back home to tell their tale of their small victory. Back over here, even with those losses, keep in mind, though, JulyZerg is on his third. Does have some decent saturation over there. Now, let's take a look at what he is planning on doing in terms of unit composition. We are seeing a Roach Warren in play. No Baneling's Nest at the moment. Is that layer coming through? Yes, it is. That is about 50% of the way done. So interested to see what his unit comp of choice is going to be. Something like Roach Infester is quite possible and pretty effective as well. Obviously, mixing in some Banelings in there as well, but throwing in those Roaches to deal with quite handedly the Marines of MMA is certainly not a bad idea. And look at this, MMA moving out with some dropping, and you know, ever since watching his games yesterday, I'm going to tell you, this MMA pal, he is a good guy. He is good at dropping. He definitely pretty strong. One of his strong suits, I'd have to say. You can see moving actually across in 2 different directions. He will be trying to drop on the third and the main here as well. And you can see back at home continuing up his macro, using his hotkeys to their full effectiveness. Also having one Viking come into play to try to snipe some overlords as well. But here we go. We're about to see that 2-pronged attack. At the same time, JulyZerg is pushing out. Look at the massive amount of upgrades coming out from MMA. Very impressive. But right now, MMA does have to be careful about this counterattack because he does not have a ton at home to defend. Here we go, dropping those Marines, stimming and pushing them in at the same time, pushing in on the third as well. And how effective are these Marines going to be? Sniping down the Queen already. The ones over here taking out a few of those drones, forcing them to pull off the line. This Roach army will force the liftoff of the Marines, but again, at the same time, Marines over here doing a bit of damage. However, those Roaches do a lot of damage. Drones pushing forward as well. Some nice micro there from MMA, though, allowing him to deal with that a bit. Again, re-dropping down, trying to get a few more worker kills. Unfortunately, though, the Roaches did respond quick enough. MMA is forced to lift off. He does still have a few Marines over here, and there's a continued drop again. Still haven't seen any counter aggression from JulyZerg. He is too preoccupied with this attack here from MMA, and MMA doing a really great job. Will want to pull back with that medevac, very dangerously close to losing that. Did manage to get away just in the nick of time, and look at that. In just one fell swoop, MMA doing a tremendous amount of damage. He already had that slight lead, but let's take another look here. Slowly adding to that right now, almost doubling the resources lost. JulyZerg is certainly in a worse position right now. Now he does have a couple Zerglings out in the center of the map. I was really upset, or bothered rather, by the fact that JulyZerg didn't try to push out for a counterattack with those Zerglings. Right now, obviously, the forces of MMA would be way too much for these Zerglings to deal with, but at the time, MMA was quite low on these units back at home, simply because he had most of his Marines in those medevacs for the drops that did take place. So in all honesty, if JulyZerg had pushed out there, he could have at least done some economic damage and tried to put things back in his favor a little bit. We can see MMA will be trying right now to move into his third. He does have that orbital command finished, so should be seeing a liftoff very soon. But JulyZerg pushing across the map. He is very Roach heavy. A couple of Banelings thrown in the mix here as well, so he did in fact go for that composition that I almost expected. Roach heavy, Speedlings, and Banelings as well can be very effective, especially against Marine heavy. Those Roaches and Banelings obviously being a very good response to that. Some nice tank placement here, though. Very nice spread from these tanks, covering almost all areas over here. The one concern is, of course, units pushing up in this position, but I expect another tank to be pushed and pulled back over here to help cover that part as well. And he needs to be very careful, though, because JulyZerg looks like he will focus and attack. Some banelings being lifted up right now, trying to drop right on the Marines. Roach is pushing forward to try to deal with these siege tanks. Some nice target fire going down. And uh-oh, this is not good for MMA. He does not really have a lot right now. He does have some reinforcements streaming down. Will be pulling down as well with those SCVs to try to properly deal with this. But these roaches are going to start tearing through these units right now. He, of course, needs these tanks to get sieged up and to be a little bit more effective. And look at that liftoff of that siege tank right before death. Banelings coming down, though. Will this drop make it in time? No, it doesn't. Overlord gets sniped out of the sky. We are seeing some reinforcements here as well from JulyZerg, but look at that, MMA in such a bad position, managing to actually fend this off. This is just a testament to his macro, the fact that he was able to actually keep up that constant production during all of that and have those reinforcements just in the nick of time. An excellent play there by MMA. That was a really strong and solid push as well by JulyZerg. And in all honesty, it definitely looked for a moment like he was about to break MMA. Certainly helped his cause quite a bit. We can see JulyZerg not nearly as far behind as he was prior to that engagement. Definitely evening up the odds here quite a bit. So one thing that we will, of course, want to see JulyZerg do is move out for his 4th base. He does know that MMA is trying for that 3rd, and the fact that this is going to be up and running very shortly. And actually, no, wow, MMA is going to try to get that high yield expansion. That will be incredibly difficult to defend, and it will also leave up this natural quite vulnerable, because these, obviously, as we can see here, Speedlings able to run right into the side here, especially if his units are here defending at that high yield. But we will have to wait and see how MMA decides to manage this. But at the same time, look at that, JulyZerg in fact also trying to go for the high yield himself as well. Something I definitely want to see is some more dropping, and right as I mentioned that, MMA moving across the map here with these stim Marines. We'll be stimming them up and then pulling them across. Here's a free Overlord kill, and then probably moving here into the 3rd expansion as well. Speedlings will be moving and scouting out this expansion. Of course, I do not expect them to kill this off. We'll try to get that free mule kill, but just the fact that JulyZerg has spotted this is a problem for MMA. He obviously wanted to keep this hitting as much as possible. But I guess, oh, never mind. JulyZerg did have these towers, so he saw that the second that got dropped there anyways. MMA engaging with those Zerglings. Zerglings forced to retreat there, and actually this one realizing, I'm dead anyways. Might as well try to get a few shots off on that siege tank. MMA churning out that Marine production, being so very Marine heavy for good reason, because of course they have been proved to be quite effective for him. We'll be seeing another drop here. We do finally have mutas coming into play right now, and forcing the drones to pull off the line right there. Nice play by MMA. Just stopping that mining even for a few moments definitely helps his cause quite a bit. Again, keep in mind, we will want to keep an eye on this back corner. At the same time, mutas will be trying to move in, but no, there are a lot of Marines right there. Does manage to snipe down one of those tanks. That is quite enough mutas to actually get those quick snipes on those siege tanks or any outlying buildings or anything like that. Any more drop harass going on? It looks like not at the moment. We do have a couple Marines spread out across the map. Something else that I really like that I've been seeing MMA do quite a bit is just be very active with his Marines all game. Just send a Marine or two all over the place. Check expansions. Look for Overlords. Here's another drop. Moving right on in. We'll be target firing down this extractor, and this is actually not a bad target because late game, of course, Vespene becomes so important, especially for, well, any player really, but a Zerg, especially with Speedlings, Banelings, Roaches, you need so much Vespene. But at the same time, counter push going back, and MMA sniped down that gold expansion. That is a big problem for JulyZerg. We can see MMA starting to work on that saturation here at this high yield. JulyZerg will probably be pushing out for a counterattack. That is expected, but Marines there ready to meet those mutas, and I don't know if there's enough, though. We can see shredding through those muta counts, but he does have enough mutas to actually mop that up. But here's some additional Marines, so that should be able to shoo away these mutas, and JulyZerg in a tough position right now, losing that expansion. He was responding to that small drop, and instantly, the second that MMA realized that JulyZerg was trying to respond to that just small drop with just Marines, he pushed out with those Marines and tanks and took out that high yield, and that is an issue. We do have another dropship primed and ready to attack over here as well, and here's another dropship as well. So again, MMA just all over the place with these. There's a stim, probably going to force that cancellation here, but no, actually enough Speedlings pulling on in. Mutas too, just in case he tries to lift off with those, and there we go, trying to lift off, and those get taken out very quickly. And again, here's another drop, pushing back inside of the main. Will he actually be able to snipe down this extractor this time? We can see another push coming out again with just marine tank, a couple of medevacs thrown in there as well. And actually, he will be going straight for that queen. Does he snipe it down? No, he does not. He is going for the spawning pool instead, and this could be a big, big victory if he does manage to take it out. But again, look at this. JulyZerg responding to the small drop, and at the same time, giant push coming across the map from MMA, taking out that expansion, and that's a repeat of what we saw here at this high yield. Responding to a small drop with everything you have, and then losing an expansion as a result. And very nice play, certainly by MMA in consistently keeping these droppings going and then pushing out to snipe down expansions. Clearly a strong tactic, and probably something that I should cover at some point in one of my strategy videos, because that's pretty intense. And MMA is a prime example of how, when done properly, this can be pretty darn effective. And actually, let me make sure that I don't deal with any more of these in the middle of the cast. And here we go. Muta's moving across the map. We'll be trying to snipe down this one Marine. Marine stimming back to safety, though, surprisingly enough. So here's the problem right now. You might be wondering, well, JulyZerg, where are all of his units? Well, okay, he does have a crap ton actually, of speedlings and banelings over here, but his expansions are low and everything is low just because of MMA. This whole cause and effect scenario, MMA with those drops and then sniping down 2 expansions has put JulyZerg in such a bad position that this is really all he's sitting with right now. And JulyZerg will be pushing out soon. We can see lots of banelings that will be loaded up here into these overlords, and he will be looking to just mop up all these forces. Let's see how effective it is. He's gonna just need to make sure that he engages at the proper time. And again, another medevac drop going down and delaying this push here, this attempted push from JulyZerg, forcing him to respond to this small medevac dropship. At the same time here, MMA is getting ready to engage, and oh no, he doesn't want to catch these overlords. Here come the overlords. Are they gonna start the baneling bombing? Stimming back with those marines, concerned about that, and there we go, wants to spread out those marines as much as possible. He lost a lot of those tanks to that baneling drop, and unbelievable. JulyZerg has mopped up almost everything that MMA has, but MMA has this high yield going. So let's take a look at how the rest of this engagement goes. Here we go. Muta's pushing forward as well. Siege tank on the high ground doing quite a bit of splash damage. Marines trying to stim away from any possible banelings. Muta's moving in to try to mop up those tanks as well. This is helping quite a bit. And JulyZerg doing a lot of damage here. Definitely has an opportunity to take out this expansion. We do have a couple more Marines though, and with some intense micro, unbelievably, they are still alive. And wow, MMA fended off that attack. Who would have thought that that would have happened? At the same time, here's a drop in the main, taking out the spawning pool. Very nice MMA dropping that spawning pool. That is a big problem right now for JulyZerg because, well, he can't make any more Zerglings, and that's been the bulk of his army in these last few engagements, and now he can just not do it. So we will have to see another spawning pool get dropped in order for him to try to continue this up. Right now, he's pretty much relegated to making roaches and mutas, and that's it. And roaches and mutas, that is not his composition of choice. He definitely wants those speedlings and banelings, especially given the fact that MMA is so marine heavy. And I still cannot believe, my head's spinning right now, I cannot believe the fact that MMA did not lose this base. I mean, how did that happen? He was so overwhelmingly outnumbered, and somehow this expansion is still up, it's still running, and it's going to completely mine out this high yield. Props to MMA right there. Another drop coming in the main, and where is he going for this time? Is he going for just some overlords? Yes, he is. We're trying to snipe out some of these overlords, and we'll be target firing down the bane list. If he can take out this bane list, this is a big problem for JulyZerg, and see you later. Now that the spawning pool is finally up, MMA snipes down the baneling nest, and man, just a constant headache after headache for JulyZerg. Losing expansions, losing important tech. You know, there we go. Again, forced to recreate this baneling nest right now. So still, okay, now he can make Zerglings, but he's going to have to wait a while before banelings come into play. And this just surgical removal of these tech buildings and of these expansions that we're seeing here from MMA is such an impressive feat. It's so, just watching it is really unbelievable. I just really can't believe, you know, JulyZerg is so really far behind right now. We can see, you might say, okay, only 2,000, but his mining, his income is so far behind what we're seeing MMA for. Look at the resource, that huge resource advantage. Yes, JulyZerg does have that Vespian advantage, but right now the fact that we're seeing MMA play so marine heavy definitely gives him that edge because, well, JulyZerg needs more minerals in order to be able to contend with his army because he needs to produce enough Zerglings and as well enough banelings to probably deal with this, but I don't think he's going to do it. Looks like JulyZerg will be losing this expansion. He does have a few mutas, but that's not even enough to deal with the number of Marines in play. Now, what JulyZerg needs to do is he needs to roll in with some speedlings and banelings and take out those Marines, but he is just now getting around to making banelings again due to that surgical removal of that spawning pool and then the baneling nest that we saw MMA do with those 2 drops back to back. And actually, I haven't seen any dropping from MMA. There we go, finally. I was like, man, it's been a whole minute without any drops. What is MMA doing? So there we go. MMA dropping down some more Marines and going to continue up the harassment here in the main. Maybe this time aiming for that Spire. Who knows, really? Muta's moving across the board. We do have, it looks like we will be seeing another drop here from JulyZerg, realizing he really needs to use that Overlord drop to take out those Marines as much as possible. But here comes another push, it looks like, here from MMA, getting ready to move across the map, scanning down, spotting all of those mutas, stimming forward with a couple Marines just for scouting purposes. Once this does dissipate, he wants a little bit of a forward notion as to what's going on, giving himself time to set up his siege tanks if necessary. Here we go, moving right up into the high yield right now. Muta's over in the right position. Here in the bottom, we do have those speedlings. And where are the banelings? There we go, banelings sitting right up here. There was another drop, though, in the main. Did it snipe out anything? Not really. Maybe just a few workers. But didn't do too much. But again, here comes the push here right across the middle and managing to take out a few of these overlords. Now, we do still have these overlords with banelings, speedlings sitting right there waiting to engage. And here comes the engage right now. Movements from the mutas from the backside. And here we go, stimming back those Marines, trying to stay away from the banelings. Not to worry if he sacrifices those siege tanks. Siege tanks doing a lot of damage as well. And some nice micro here from MMA, splitting up those Marines, taking care of those banelings. And JulyZerg is not left with a lot right now. And those stim Marines, look at how effective they are. And there we go. It's the GG from JulyZerg. MMA opened up this game with some Reaper harass and a quick expansion. Seeing those early game Reapers, JulyZerg expected a fast expansion from MMA and responded by coming out with a quick third for himself. MMA moved out early on with some combat shield Marines to add to the harass from these 2 Reapers. Now, he did get surrounded by JulyZerg, but luckily with some good Reaper micro, he was able to do enough damage to actually kill off all of these Zergling forces from that initial wave that JulyZerg sent at him. Around the 10-minute mark is when MMA began that ever so popular Marine medevac harassment. Dropping in the main base of JulyZerg as well as the third, he managed to snipe out this queen and do a little bit more damage there as well. After dealing with that drop rash, JulyZerg pushed out with some strong aggression, going roach baneling dropping, trying to take out these Marines. What we're going to see though is with some nice tank spread and Marine micro, trying to stay away from those banelings as much as possible, we were actually able to see MMA defend himself. Now right now it looks pretty helpless for MMA, but pulling down with those SCVs as well as with that really strong macro, just continuing up that production, he was able to get enough reinforcements to actually push back this strong attack from JulyZerg. After that big engagement, both players decided to expand to the high yield expansion. With both players in the middle at the high yield, MMA responded by going with a small drop inside of the main of JulyZerg. Now, JulyZerg responded by pulling all of his forces back to defend against it. However, at the exact same time, MMA was also pushing with the rest of his forces onto the high yield of JulyZerg. Sniping it down while JulyZerg was distracted by the drop in his main was a huge victory for MMA. Just a few minutes after dropping the high yield of JulyZerg, we saw the same type of harassment from MMA, dropping inside of the main, to which JulyZerg responded, and then at the same time pushing against the fourth and forcing the cancellation. MMA then dropped again inside the main of JulyZerg, and this time sniped the spawning pool, and this was one of the big decisive factors in this game. Now, while that spawning pool was being dropped, JulyZerg did manage to catch a lot of MMA's forces out of position here with this baneling doom drop, and even though he mopped up a lot of what MMA had, it really still wasn't enough, given the fact that he lost his spawning pool, and immediately after that, he actually ended up losing his baneling nest to an MMA drop again. With successfully defending the push against his high yield, MMA was just so far ahead of the game at this point that it was already GG. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. This was a really great game between JulyZerg and MMA, and I'll be happy to bring you guys more games from MLG if you so request it. As always, guys, thank you for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Keep watching and keep owning.